think that they see where Calvin's at and they say, oh, you're so lucky. And Calvin said it best one time. He was on the Airdyne doing his bike sprints, and he was like barely sweating, barely breathing. He goes, everybody wants to say I'm lucky. I'm lucky I got the longest fight. I'm lucky I got the longest fight. He goes, I'm lucky. He goes, well, here's your luck. It's right here on this bike. Come get some. And I think that always stuck. That always stuck with me. We're not lucky. We work hard. I really think Calvin can finish him, and it's a tale of two scenarios. It's you see the Calvin that comes out and looks unstoppable, and then you see the Calvin that's a little bit more reserved and calculated and thinking. And Calvin's going to go out there and establish the fact that we're the young. We're older than him. We're the young up-and-coming prospect, and we're not intimidated by you. We're not intimidated in being the big spotlight in the main event on ABC against former champ. It's our cage, and you're going to be in for a fight.
I just think the way Calvin, his distance control, his understanding of which strikes to use at which range, just kind of, this is where Holloway's not his greatest. I mean, he comes forward where Calvin was going to actually be able to change that distance and range, and I think he's going to get a finish.
I'm saying second or third round.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's the first round, just because Mac's a bit of a slow starter. He doesn't wear power good early. He kind of recovers and then gets a second win, almost like a Forrest Griffin, right?
Yeah.
You always kind of get hurt and then come back and win, and that Calvin's not the type of guy you can do that with. You see anytime Calvin hurts somebody, he like kills them. He's like a shark in the water when he smells blood. Like you get stunned, you're done.
Welcome back to Bazooka Kickboxing and MMA, another episode of Building Hurting Bombs, and I'm here with my man, Tyson Chartier. I hope I didn't butcher that like I always do. So how you doing, homie?
Good, man. How you doing?
Pretty good. The gym heat's not working, so I'm freezing. So that's why I have 4 layers on. I'm not cutting weight over here, just cold.
Dude, believe it or not, I refuse to shut the door behind me. It's because it's 55 degrees outside here, believe it or not, in Abu Dhabi. But I was so hot last time, it was 120 degrees, that I'm just trying to pretend. I'm trying to appreciate the cool weather.
Yeah.
Now you can actually breathe.
And you're a pro now. This is your guys' second time down to Fight Island. And the first thing I see from your Instagram is you pack a whole suitcase full of Monster energy drinks. That's crazy. Animal.
Well, I don't drink coffee, so I do the energy drinks.
That's me. I got my coffee now. Yeah. So what is it? Mountain Dew and Monster energy drinks?
I don't really drink Mountain Dew. I'll drink some Coke Zeros. My sister has them at the house.
That's
but
my thing.
For the most part, I drink a couple of energy drinks in the morning, and then I'm like a soda guy. I know it's really bad, but I also drink. I drink a gallon of water a day, but then I'll drink some soda.
All right.
So it's just a little bad habit I got, right?
Hey. So as soon as I started doing this little podcast again, you're the first person I thought of, man. I mean, you're someone I want to pick the brain. You're someone I think that my followers would love to hear from. And I'm honestly going to stand here like a little fanboy, but I'm so proud of you guys, man. From when you guys came here, and literally, you guys were building yourself, but you weren't really a big name at that time. And then within 1 year of knowing you guys literally took the world by storm.
It's been, you see the hard work that goes on, and we try to surround ourselves with, we're always benchmarking. We're trying to find the best people who do the best things. And that, we went and trained with you. That was, that was by no accident. I'd already knew who you were, heard of you, met you at the PI that one time. And then one of my fighters, Ross, was going out there, and he sent the invite. And Calvin was like, well, do you think we should go during the camp? Because, what do you think? I was like, no, definitely, it's going to be worth our time. And we went, and now he's really glad he went. Rob's super jealous that we went. He didn't get to go. And I was talking to Rob earlier because he's here with us, and he's like, yeah, I can't wait to get out there and just,
I hope so,
chop it up with those guys and learn some stuff. So yeah, it's been a blessing what's happened over the last year in less than ideal circumstances, but I'm super proud of everything they've accomplished.
Hell yeah. And yourself, man, you came into the gym, and I knew you were, a great coach. You were well-versed in all aspects of the game of fighting, but then, you're very humble, and I just appreciated that. You kind of came in, you didn't kind of say how much you knew, you kind of just learned, you just offered so much respect, and then next thing you know, man, you're the coach of the damn year. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, that was unexpected. It was surreal. It's I don't do good with compliments, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, hell yeah, man.
I'm so awkward about it. But Yeah, no, I mean, anytime I go to another person's gym, I'm in their world. I'm there to learn, and um, I think that's one of the things that helps me be a better coach is the fact that I know there's people that know a lot more than I do, and I'm just trying to fill my bucket every time from people that I trust, and weed out the people that I think are giving me BS advice, and
Hmm.
find people like you that I can learn from, and then put that in my bag of tools. And 6 months after that, I was like, well, Joe said do this, and
Yeah.
I always try to give little cliff notes and
Yeah.
credit where it's due, and just to make me a better coach, I gotta be around other better coaches.
Mhm. And I think what you do too, it's like you have multiple hats, which I think is an amazing role because in MMA, man, there's too many different hats. You have a striking coach, a jiu-jitsu coach, a manager, someone who puts it all together, and you're that one hat that kind of plays it all for the guys, and I think that's important because you're kind of like that guy who manages everything, and you get everything so particular, and I think that's really important that a lot of teams don't have.
I think there's something getting lost in the idea that there's an MMA coach. People, they have their kickboxing coach or Muay Thai coach, then they have their boxing coach, they have their wrestling coach, then they have their jiu-jitsu coach, they have their strength and conditioning coach, they have their nutritionist, they have their manager, and then they call someone their head coach. But generally, the head coach is the guy that either they're with the most or they've been with the longest. But who's the guy that's putting all the different silos together? That's connecting the boxing
Yeah.
silo to the wrestling silo to the jiu-jitsu silo, and who's the guy that's putting it all together and kind of like filtering out the things that might not work with the boxing coach that can't for this specific fight, and
Yep.
from all the other jiu-jitsu wrestling. So I think I really think I found my niche as an MMA coach. Like I have a background in wrestling. I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Hmm.
By no means am I a striking coach, but I'll always say, like, I'll never fix your jab, but I'm going to tell you when to jab.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and then I work with other high level striking coaches. Like we cross train with guys like you when we can. We have Jake
Yeah,
Benitez,
Jake's
Muay Thai
incredible.
coach. Yeah, Sean Farley, our boxing coach. And like I'll always say to Sean and Jake, because like I'm not going to tell these guys how to fix their technique, but I'm going to work with the coaches and say, hey, listen, for this fight, maybe it doesn't make sense to throw a lead hook, and here's why. And then here's the combos I think will work, and here's why. And then I'll watch them do it, and then I'll just, kind of think on the fly. And I'm like, hey, why don't we adjust this instead of doing this? Let's finish with that, and then and then we all kind of collaborate and put it together. But yeah, I do think that there's not really a lot of MMA coaches.
Yeah, I
There's
agree.
coaches that maybe have a background in striking, and then they're gonna always try to kind of push you to box more. And then
Yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah,
coaches
exactly.
that the wrestling coach always wants everybody to take everybody down, and everybody's you just got to do whatever's gonna work for that fight and work for that fighter. And I think yeah, so it's like I guess I wear a lot of hats, but really I try to wear one hat, and it's the MMA coach.
Yeah.
And part of that, I guess, is wearing a lot of hats.
But I think the hat you wear, that one hat, is just being that friend. You're that person they can come to, they can trust you. And I think sometimes when you hear that word manager, you get that sleazy vibe, someone who just wants to take your money, but you're literally, friends. You're their uncle, you're their father when they need to be. You're there to pick them up when they're down. So I think that's the most important role, is that you care. And I think a lot of gyms are just so big that they don't have that investment in their guys.
Yeah, I mean, I see you see this pattern that happens at gym where it's like a recurring theme where like a gym gets to the point where like we're at right now, right? And you start to get some fanfare, you start to get some success, and then all of a sudden other people want to come train there, and
Yeah.
then the classes get fuller, and then next thing you know the coach is going out and doing seminars everywhere without the fighters, and now the coach is missing practice because he has to go teach a seminar somewhere, and then next thing you know, it's this thing that got you all the success morphs into something different because the coach starts to become a little bit of a you know like a celebrity on his own, and then now he's out there trying to make money off of his brand versus like just keeping his core competency, which is being a good MMA coach for the fighters that are there. So ideally, we won't let that happen. We're going to try to stay small, and I think that's why it works for us. And yeah, just keep plugging away and just keep chasing the belts for these guys.
Yeah. And what are some of the other guys you would kind of look in the MMA world and say, like, all right, this is a guy that kind of I'm moving towards, that you kind of respect? Is it someone like a Jackson? Is it someone like a Faraz Zahabi? Or is it just doing your own damn thing?
I really think I'm kind of doing it different. Like I think like if you look at Dean Thomas, I think he's kind of So he's like kind of doing what we're doing right now,
Because
where
you fought
he's,
professionally
you know,
too. You forgot to mention that. You have
I did.
pro fights as
Yeah, no, I
well.
did. I freaking lost to some turds and
It
stuff,
doesn't
but
matter. You
like I
still
never,
lived
yeah.
it, you know?
Yeah, no, I had like 15 fights. I had a bunch of fight camps that never happened, and that's how I got into this. Is I was just cornering my teammates, and then Rob needed a fight. I got Rob a fight, and then next thing you know, I'm getting my other teammate a fight. Now all of a sudden they're calling me their manager, and so it just kind of happened. And you've guys like Dean Thomas, who he was a coach at ATT, used to fight, and then now he's kind of branched off, and he's doing like small group training and really trying to focus more on like individualized training
Yeah.
for a small group of fighters, which is what we've been doing for a while. So I think you're starting to see it a little bit. COVID kind of made it happen with some fighters. But yeah, as far as someone else, I respect guys like Mike Brown. I see he puts in the work.
Yes.
He grinds. He's
Good
not,
example.
you don't see him trying to be, it doesn't seem like he's trying to, I just think you see a lot of coaches, they're more worried about being famous and making money than they are about being a good coach.
Yeah.
And I think if you just focus on trying to be a good coach, and the money will just organically come, but it's never about the money, it's never about being famous. It's never, I just think like guys like Mike Brown, I look up to because I see how he's a world champion. He's coaching some world champions, and he's still so grounded. Like I see him on fight weeks, he's still picking up wet towels.
Beautiful.
Whereas other coaches I've been around, they're like, nah, I don't help with the weight cut. I graduated past that.
Yeah.
The minute you think you graduate past any of the low level stuff, you shouldn't be coaching anymore because your heart's in the wrong place.
Yeah, I mean, I like to bring guys like one of my guys, Matty Spech, that you met. I like to bring him in but because he's the specialist. I let him kind of work, and then I kind of sit back and kind of just overmanage things. But like I want to be there the whole time. Like some guys like, oh, I'm just gonna let my guys cut weight. No, I'm gonna sit there while they're in the bathtub. I'm gonna sit around them. I'm gonna make sure they're okay. It's just that's what being a team is. You can't leave your friend in a hot tub and just get out of there. It's crazy.
I think that's what makes like a stronger bond too. When you're there for those tougher moments and you're kind of going through it with them. You know what I'm talking about, the nights that you stay up till 3 a.m. cutting weight, and then you're back up at 5 a.m. and everybody's tired. The fighter's tired, but you're in there with them.
Yeah.
Clearly, you're not the one cutting weight, but you see that in those, those really, really hard moments. Some of those coaches tap out. They're like, hey, you know what? You guys got this one. I'll see you at weigh-ins. And then they kind of give up. And, I think the tough times weed out the weak coaches anyway. But, yeah, I think you got to be there for the small stuff. And the minute you think you're too good for it, it's usually a red flag.
And a lot of teams, and I mean, in Canada, we've been in lockdown almost since March, but you guys have found a way to kind of be successful during this time. I mean, Kelvin just literally skyrocketed to number 4 in the world during COVID, which is insane. Rob Font comes off of knee injury and knocks out, Marias, which is freaking insane. I mean, so what is the success? I saw you guys made your own ring in a warehouse somewhere. So what's making you guys so successful during this time?
I think we were built for quarantine. This is like an environment that we were built to thrive in, which is we don't depend on having a tough room. We would depend on having quality coaches with focused training. It's not about having 50 pro fighters who 30 of them are in the UFC being at a sparring class or anything like that.
Agree.
Or, everything we do is small group training. Like I'm at probably 80% of Calvin's sessions. Like, I might not go to some of his mid sessions with the boxing coach or whatever, but me and the boxing coach are talking after. So like, all this stuff that we're doing, it's like you have 3 or 4 coaches and you have 2 or 3 training partners, and it's all just very focused around them. So when the pandemic hit, we had some doors closed on us, made some calls, we got some other doors to open that kind of got us through, and then finally we got the opportunity to Calvin had a friend of the family that had just moved their business into another location, and this one was going to be available for a little while. So we took his cage that he had as a promoter and we put it up in a warehouse, and within I think it was like 4 days of finding the location, we had the cage set up. I got a kid I used to manage that runs a wrestling club. He brought out a wrestling mat.
Perfect.
So now we were like fully functioning, and it was great because now we're just in the same location every day. People are coming to us. I can control who's around, and we just train around what Rob and Calvin needed. So we didn't skip a beat. It was great, and I think you guys can see it in the fights that clearly these guys are still getting better, which I think is something that you don't often see a lot of fighters in the UFC. You see them they get to the UFC, they have a certain skill set, but they grow a little bit mentally, but then they plateau pretty quickly. And you kind of see like, all right, well, this is where they're at. And then 5 years later, they're still doing the same things. They don't really look any better. If anything, they're declining. And they get some wins, some losses. But if you look at, Rob and Calvin, since they've been in the UFC, they're getting better.
Big time.
They're getting better everywhere. They're getting more confident. They're growing mentally and physically. And I think the team around us is getting tighter. And that's giving them more confidence. And I think it's just, we're all, as a team, we're in a very good spot. As individuals, they're in a very good spot. I feel like I'm in a good spot. So I think we just got a lot of synergy right now. And I really think we're laying a blueprint for other teams to show them that, you don't have to move to Florida. You don't have to move to Cali or Vegas or New Mexico. Like, you can do it in a small group, but you obviously have to have the right people around.
Yeah. And I think that's why we kind of bonded right away. Cause like, that's my biggest philosophy, man. Like, I won a world title without even going to get sparring partners. Like, I stayed in a small local gym with my guys. We grew up together. My sparring partners were Troy and Matt. I didn't need other sparring partners. We kept the group small. I kept one coach. And that's what it is. I mean, it's the trust in my team that was everything, right? I mean, if I have to rely on other things for confidence, myself and my coach and my team, that was enough that I needed. And I think that's the way you guys have it. Like, your system, your belief, and you guys are fully invested in it, and it's showing, man. It's crazy. But I think the biggest, most impressive thing I learned from you was the amount of prep that you put into a fight. So my whole fight career, Tyson, I never watched even my opponents. I didn't game plan because I was going to impose my style of fight. I was going to get in there. I was going to pressure. I was going to do my thing, keep chopping away the legs. And I just trusted my coach. But now, being in that coaching role, I have to look and game plan. But sometimes I think there's under planning and then over planning. Before meeting you, because I was lucky enough, for those listening, I got a sneak peek at some of their game plans and what Tyson does. And I literally, I don't even think I'm exaggerating, you can correct me, but at least 10-page document of all your notes and every fight and breakdown. And like, this was like a scholarly article that I just read. So that, I want to get your take on what's under preparation, what's over, how much does Tyson see or Rob Font see of this game plan, or is it just with the coaches? And that's what I really wanted to pick your brain on.
Yeah. So as far as like under preparing or over preparing, you can definitely get to that point where you over prepare and you start to second guess yourself. I think the key to it is you got to always listen to your gut. I feel like the only times I've ever gotten into trouble is when I ask for too many other opinions, and then they start to sway me like, and then next thing you know, I'm like thinking of something that wasn't really my gut instinct. And that's why when I watch video, I watch with the volume off. Like, the first time I go through and watch all the fights of, someone's career, I watch with the volume off, because the announcers can definitely give you bias. They'll be like, oh, this guy's got a great jab. So then next thing you know, every time he jabs, like, yeah, he does have a great jab, but then you're missing other things. So I go through, I watch with no volume. I get what like my gut instinct is and what I see, and I look for those holes. I look for those light bulbs to go off for, like, holy crap, like this is how you beat this guy. And then you go back and look and see, like, wow, how didn't I see that earlier? And I just think you got to be careful not to over prepare. And I think you can never be too prepared in terms of like how much video you watch and preparation, and start to see tendencies and see tells and stuff like that. But you got to be careful that you're not trying to like outsmart yourself. Yeah. So, keep it simple, stupid, watch the video, come up with a gut instinct, look for patterns, look for, tendencies, weaknesses, trends, all that stuff. But I would argue that most teams are underprepared. And I feel like this is where, when I have, the management company, I think this gives me a big advantage, because me being a manager, I manage a lot of guys that are in like a lot of different camps. Yeah. And I get, I talk to those coaches, and then I talk to the fighters. Fighters, I'm friends with the guys I manage. So those fighters will call me and they'll be like, hey, this is the game plan, and they'll show me. And it'll be like, and I'm not going to out anybody, but these are like gyms that have been nominated for Team of the Year as major awards, right? With the coaches that have been nominated for Coach of the Year and stuff. And I'm talking, they have like a little notepad, and it'll be like, he likes to jab, he likes to high kick, he'll come out aggressive. And then it'll say game plan. It'll be like, keep hands high, work low kicks, control cage. Like, that's
obviously,
yeah. And then they'll be like, yeah, we're just gonna come out, we're gonna keep our hands high, watch for that high kick, and then then we're gonna try to take the cage back from him. And I'm like, all right, well, how are we gonna take the cage back? Like, and like, well, I don't know, we're just gonna we're gonna go out there and do it. And like, cool, and I think I would argue that most camps are underprepared. And I honestly, I think it's a time thing,
But how much would you share with Rob and Tyson, though? Like, would you do they read that document?
Yeah. So I send that to them. I think, Rob reads it over so he understands what it is. It's the game is really just for them, they can, there's the elevator pitch portion. It's a kind of like if someone asked you in the elevator, all right, what's the game plan for this fight? And you give them that, like, just like,
I call those the
seconds.
overall objections, the overall objectives,
exactly. Yeah. Yep. So that's really important that they understand that. And then as we go through camp, we keep pushing it, and then work the call signs, all that. But really the game plan, or, scouting report / game plan, it's really like a fluid document to build the camp around and get all the coaches teaching them the right things.
Yep.
Because if I'm thinking like, oh, we're going to go out in this fight and, this guy catches leg kicks or high kicks, whatever, we gotta keep the fight on our feet. We can't lead with kicks, blah, blah, blah. And then I got Jake over there just working like spinning shit and high kicks and the whole time. And now we're not on the same page. Now I'm over here preaching, hey, we got to do this. And then Jake's over here teaching him that. The fighter starts to see there's not continuity in the camp. And then they start to get kind of confused on who to listen to. So really, and that's why I give each of the guys assignments in the game plan. Like I'll give Jake assignments. I'll give the wrestling coach assignments, the jiu-jitsu coach assignments.
So
and then I'll be at a lot of those sessions going over it. And then I'll be like, hey, let's tweak this. Like I said, like Jake can teach elbows way better than I can. But then I'll just jump in and be like, hey, what do you think about like maybe not doing the elbow there? Let's pull it back and maybe think about doing it over here. What do you think about that? And then we'll kind of collaborate and talk and, we'll pick each other's brains. And, I think you definitely don't want the fighter to, because then you write strengths and weaknesses on there, and then you see the fighter on Fight Week, you're reading those strengths the whole time. Like like when fighters watch a highlight video of their opponent, and then you're like, why would you watch
just
that?
saw the best parts. Yeah, that's the biggest mistake you make. The biggest mistake
we were about to walk against Marlon Moraes a couple weeks ago. Probably one of the scariest strikers.
I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah. So we're standing there, the black curtain's there.
Yep.
We're just waiting to like 2 minutes, and we're standing there. All of a sudden, they go to play the pre-fight hype video, and it's like Rob getting knockouts. And I'm like, oh shit. And Rob's like, oh, and one of the other coaches like, oh, that's cool. I'm like, no, it's not, because they're about to show Marlon knocking some people out next.
Yeah.
So then we're watching. Rob here is coming off a year layoff, ACL surgery, scariest guy in the division probably.
He's probably so
and then
nervous.
All of a sudden they're showing Marlon just ripping people apart, and it's cool music playing, and they're like, all right, walk. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, that happened with Malcolm too. So I was like, I feel that. Yeah.
Any fighter other than Rob, I would have been more nervous, but he's just so mentally strong. And but yeah, man, I feel like people like Malcolm, they should probably just look away, but they're all at the same time, they're like, oh, that's so cool. But you just gotta look away for that stuff and not let it affect you. But yeah, so on the game plan, it's really just about, they got to read it one time at least, understand the high level, and then we're just pounding that thing in camp every session. And
the code language. I know you're really big on code too, right?
Yeah, we have call signs for everything, and we try to change them. And
especially now with the quiet arena, right?
Yeah, man, we're gonna get some fans for this one. So
okay, you got some funny ones going in?
No, we always keep pretty basic, nothing like too controversial or anything like that. But there's gonna be, I think, like 4,000 or 5,000 fans in the arena this time, so that'll be nice to hear some cheering.
Okay.
Yeah. So we get call signs, and because you hear that some of the other camps will have some call signs, but they never really change them.
Yeah, so it's predictable.
So we knew what the call sign for takedown was going against Ige, and then I asked Coach Eric after. I was like, this is a call sign for takedown, right? He's like, oh, damn it.
Yeah.
And
that's the fun part of coaching sometimes now, because you can kind of go back and forth with each other. Like I was playing around a few times being like, he's calling for this, we're going to do this. So you almost like give code to just tell the other coach that you're listening. And it's weird, man. It's so weird.
Yeah, especially where it's so, lately it's been so quiet. So you got to have call signs. Like there's nothing, because early in my career, I remember one of the coaches I used to work with, and he was like, all right, go to the body. And then it's like the other fighter, so he goes to the body and gets knocked out with the hook. And the other fighter in the post-fight interview was like, yeah, I heard his coach screaming for him to go to the body, so I just waited.
And just countered.
It's like, well, what? You got to have like better preparation than just say go to the body. Like have a call sign for what the body shot is, and like, I don't know.
I think it's crazy.
I just think that's
sorry, continue.
Laziness.
Yeah,
I think it's just laziness.
I think it's also new. I also don't think, like when I watched fights or been in the fights 10 years ago, I don't know if people were really calling code language, man. I don't know if this is a kickboxing thing, but it's code language isn't really popular when it comes to kickboxing. I don't know if it's more European based, so you don't understand each other. Like even our last game, we fought Sue Mujeri, who, Tibetan Eagle, whatever his name is. Like, I was like, I don't need code. He doesn't speak English, so I can say whatever I want. But I guess he knows low kick maybe, so I had to change it up slightly change it up. But the
Yeah,
one
I
thing,
think it's good to have it.
oh, you need it now, especially now. You need it. But one of my big things is when I started, I did this podcast a couple weeks ago, and I was really upset, man, with this UFC experience. I mean, you've been to the fights when they had, 10, 15,000. And then this is Malcolm's first time fighting for the UFC was actually during the pandemic. So I don't think he got the real experience. And it kind of like, it's so different now. I mean, the one thing I felt when being in Abu Dhabi, it was fun. We got to walk around. We got to do the cars. We got to at least go to the beach and kind of interact with the other teams. But in Vegas, you're almost stuck in your room the entire time. So it felt like I was hiding. I barely saw anyone. I saw one person. It was James Krause because we kind of coordinated, which was awesome. But other than that, it felt like we're hiding. When I cornered in the other days with Mitch Gagnon and Antonio Carvalho, we got that, the fans, the hotel being packed with the audience and pictures. And Malcolm never got that. So I'm hoping, he gets to experience that because that's one of the best parts of fighting.
I know. It's sad right now as, Calvin's, we got to be the main event on Fight Island, right? Like Fight Island's a big deal. Main event, you make that walk, and it's that first time you make the walk. Have you ever noticed, like when the main event walks, if you're in the blue corner, you walk out, you have a longer walk, but you make the regular walk.
Yep.
But if you're the red corner, you walk second, you make that walk out in the exit. So you get to walk in, turn right. It's like a big deal, you very rarely get to do it, right? Make the long walk as a main event and then come in the exit. It's like, it's a special privilege, right?
Yeah,
very
even leaving and everyone's trying to touch you and high five you and pictures. Like it's a feeling,
yeah,
man.
so we make that walk in and there's no fans. So it's like, I feel like it wasn't the same. So now, this time we'll be walking out of the blue corner, but we get to make the longer walk with fans yelling, and I think there'll be plexiglass, so there'll be no high fives or anything. But and then I think about all the fighters that kind of made breakout years this year. Rob just got that knockout against Marlon Rice. There's no fans there to cheer. It was kind of, all right, cool. Get back in your shuttle and go to the hotel.
Yeah, I know. Basically, go hide again in your room.
Yeah, and it's tough, man. It's like I always try to look at it as glass half full, though. At least we're getting to fight. There's a lot of other local MMA shut down, so there's a lot of people, their careers are on hold, and I mean that's definitely one of the most negative aspects of the whole pandemic as far as MMA goes, is that just no fans in the crowd to enjoy these moments with.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating because you want the guys, but I mean, at the same time, everyone's like, well, it's an opportunity. For sure, I get that the world shut down and the guys still get to compete. But there's more to fighting than just being able to compete. Like, you dream about those experiences of having all the people and the cheering and the noise. So the fact that Malcolm got here, had 2 fights, and didn't have that yet, I want him to have that experience, and that was my big point. And I guess I could announce a little bit now. Before you got on, I was actually talking to Malcolm. Again, they're going to throw him in another late notice fight again. So I guess they just keep putting him late notice in February. I don't know if they announced it yet, but hopefully no one's listening.
Got to be in Vegas then.
I believe so. I think February 6th.
I got a guy in that card. Mike Rodriguez is fighting. I won't be there, but I would say I'm cornering William Knight February 27th, so I'll be out there for that week.
Hey, that's my boy. I got to meet him. Do you know that?
Boy.
Did you ever meet? Yeah, that's how we actually met. I thought he was a lightweight. Yeah. Sorry, I thought he was a middleweight, and he's like, middleweight. I was like, yeah.
He always remembers that. Man, that guy thought I was small.
Yeah, but then when he takes off for sure, he's like, no, you ain't small, bro. You're massive, huge, but such a nice guy too. And you have a bunch. I mean, you also work with Rocco Martin, which he's a stud too. I kind of like watching him. Yep. Maurice Green, you work with a little bit still.
Yep, I manage Maurice. He's right now he lost that Greg Hardy fight. He's doing some PT to get he hurt his neck.
He just wished me Happy New Year's. Always reaches out. Very nice guy.
Nice. Yeah, he's the man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just frustrated. That's all my point. But I'm happy. I'm happy you guys are there. I'm happy you guys are doing your thing. And this ABC thing's got to be very exciting for you.
ABC.
Isn't that the network it's on?
Oh, the TV. I'm like,
yeah, it was like ABC. I was like, man, not only there you get that. It's like a new. They're using you guys, which is perfect. That's the perfect fight to put on, national television.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because last time the first time that MMA got on major network, Cowboy was on that card with the Lead XC back in 2007 or something like that. That was like his 3rd or 4th pro fight. And then now coming back to ABC and he's headlining the first card. It's pretty impressive. And Yeah, it's a big deal. There'll be a lot of fresh eyes on it. We get to go head to head with some playoff football, and yeah, I mean, it's got like a pay-per-view vibe to it.
I think
There's a
so.
little bit different energy going into a regular fight night. Um, Obviously, Conor is getting a lot of attention being a week after us, and there's a Wednesday card, and so it's kind of nice kicking off Fight Island on ABC. There'll be a lot of eyes and cool energy to it. Hopefully, Calvin can pick up a bunch of fans, the Cartel can pick up a bunch of fans, and MMA in general can pick up a lot of new fans.
Yeah. So looking at this fight with Calvin, what do you, without giving anything, feeling a nice finish here? What's your initial take on this fight? Again, very general. I don't want you to give out anything.
Yeah, no, I really think Calvin can finish him, and it's a tale of two scenarios. It's you see the Calvin that comes out and looks unstoppable, and then you see the Calvin that's a little bit more reserved and calculated and thinking. And I don't think that Max is the type of guy that you can be reserved and think a lot, because he's just going to swarm you, and then next thing you know, he might not hit hard, but he'll just swarm you. He just keeps coming. He almost just breaks people. It's not that. There's nothing special to it. It's just obviously there's special to it, but he just keeps coming forward. He overwhelms people, and then they kind of mentally break. And then that's where, I think Brian Ortega said it best. He's like, I didn't know what to do. He was hitting my body, he was hitting my head, everywhere my hands were. He was hitting every other place. Like, I just felt like there was too many punches coming. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And we just can't let it happen. Calvin's going to go out there and establish the fact that, we're the young. We're older than him. We're the young, up and coming prospect, and we're not intimidated by you. We're not intimidated in being the big spotlight in the main event on ABC against former champ. It's our cage, and you're going to be in for a fight. If we don't finish you, you're going to have to go a hard 25 minutes to earn it.
Yeah, I right away see finish. I mean, obviously biased about it, but I just think the way Calvin, his distance control, his understanding of which strikes to use at which range, just kind of. This is where Holloway's not his greatest. I mean, he comes forward where Calvin was going to actually be able to change that distance and range, and I think he's going to get a finish. I mean, Jeremy Stevens, he'll hit you close. He'll hit you long in some of his other fights, the Burgos fight. So there's so many options for him to finish, and I think it's his understanding of distance that will do it. That's all I'm going to say.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think I'm saying second or third round. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the first round, just because Max is a bit of a slow starter. He doesn't wear power good early. He kind of recovers and then gets a second wind, almost like a Forrest Griffin, right? Yeah. You always kind of get hurt and then come back and win. And that Calvin's not the type of guy you can do that with. We see anytime Calvin hurts somebody, he like kills them. He's like a shark in the water when he smells blood. Like you get stunned, you're done. So yeah, I'm excited about it, man. It's just about executing.
Yeah, it's Kelvin's. His comfort in mid range is phenomenal, and a lot of guys always say to me, "He's like, that high guard, that shell, I was like, it won't work." I was like, "Watch Kelvin Kattar use it." I was like, "Watch it. He'll sit in the pocket all day with such good comfort, and that's what I just love to see. Even Rob, that's one of the most beautiful things I like watching from the Cartel. That comfort in mid-range, man, is phenomenal. And they're good wrestlers, and we've never really seen it. That's the phenomenal part. We haven't even got to see their full game.
Yeah, I mean, Calvin was like an all-state wrestler in high school, and I know sometimes people are like, "Oh, high school wrestling, that's not real wrestling." It's like, all right, well, he still wrestled, and he was good in high school, and he's got good MMA wrestling. So, it's impressive the skill sets they have that they even had to show yet.
Yeah. One thing I want to end with here, because you're in a busy quarantine over there, I see. But the one thing is, it's getting guys to this level now. This is where I want to educate, because I do get a lot of questions on it. It's more of, how do you get to this point these days? I mean, right now, we'll use my example of, I have Matt Special, who says he's 4-0, 3 finishes, doing well. What is the step these days for fighters to want to get to this level? What do you recommend? Maybe a few tips for the listeners.
Well, I think they got to be able to put in the work. I always say there's 3 things that come to successful fighters. It's talent. They have to be talented. Mm-hmm. They have to have the right work ethic. You can't be a coach and working harder than the fighter. You can't be a coach bugging the fighter to show up on time or not skip sessions.
That's how I feel.
They got to want it. Yeah. They got to want it more than they want to go out and to their girlfriends. Mm-hmm. wedding, you know, whatever it
Yeah,
is, you know,
yeah,
that
yeah.
dinner party or whatever, that party, you know, they got to want MMA more than they want anything else. And then the third thing is they have to have the home life that supports being able to make that grind on the daily,
It's a
you know,
good
because if you have
point.
a girl back home and she's
Good
like,
point.
oh, do you have to go train again? I thought we were going to go to a movie. You're always busy. You know, that's going to wear on him. Now he's like struggling to get to the gym and he feels guilty. And then he comes home, he's going to put in girl time. You got to have the girl, like my wife, you got to have that person that's like, all right, I got the kids, like, go do your
Go do
thing,
your
go
thing.
kick someone's ass on Fight Island, you know, like
Mhm.
we're proud of you. You know, you got to have that, like, oh, what do you need me to do? Like, I'm going to make this happen. You know, your daddy's in fight camp, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
you got to have that. If you don't have that, you're going to get torn into two pieces or multiple pieces, and it's going to always be pulling you away from the mats, where all you should be doing is having your coaches tell you to get off the mats more because you're overtraining.
Yeah.
And if you're not one of those, if you don't have all three of those things, it's going to be really hard to succeed. But I would say out of all those things, the natural talent is probably the least important.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'll take a kid all day that has the right work ethic and a good home life to support it and mold them into a good fighter, versus the kid that's naturally talented and has never really had to work hard.
Yeah.
He's usually going to be the one that you have to fight to get on the map. But once you have those things, then now you have a prospect, right? And then, you know, like you said, you have your guys 3 or 4-0. Now you have to, you know, build their resume up, get them smart fights. You have to, you know, kind of throw some adversity at them when it makes sense. Teach them how to train like a pro, you know, get them around
Yeah.
other high level fighters and see the sacrifices and the work ethic that they have. Let them see that, you know, this guy who over here in the UFC got his ass kicked by this guy who wasn't in the UFC one day. Because it's going to happen to them. If they go to the UFC, there's still going to be guys that aren't in there. They're going to beat the hell out of you some days, and you can't let that mentally break you. You also, you know, you can't just because you're the high level fighter, you can't be beating up your toys. You know, you can't break your toys. You got to take care of your training partners. You shouldn't be, you know, dropping guys in the gym and hurting everybody. You have to take care of your,
Yep.
you know, those are assets to you. Those are, you know, so you have to be a good teammate or else they'll never last. So you just try to teach them like all the different things on how to train them right. And then you get them in the fights, and then you have to get them fights that they can finish ideally. And then when you think they're ready for a little bit of a challenge, you give them kind of like a tougher fight. And then hopefully, you know, they just keep, you know, dealing with a little bit of adversity during the come up on the local scene. And then once you think like, okay, like I've seen this person in the gym, they're doing all the right things, I know they're skilled enough to win fights in the UFC if they got the opportunity, then you can start trying to like push for that next level. And at that point, that's where it gets real hard.
Yeah.
Because now you might have that guy who's 7 or 8-0, and he's just sitting around for 8 months waiting for a call that might not ever come. You can't make the matchmakers do anything. But generally, you see, you know, nightmare scenarios, that guy stays ready for 7 months. Then he's like, you know what, this is stupid. And then he kind of takes his foot off the gas pedal and F's off a little bit. And then 3 weeks later, when he hasn't been in the gym for 3 weeks, that call comes for that 1 or 2 week notice fight. And you go out there and you lay an egg because you weren't ready.
Yep.
And so it's hard to find those people that are willing to go through basically a fight camp for as long as it takes for that phone to ring. And then once they get in there, it's just a matter of figuring out a way to keep improving. I always equate it to like, we're building a house, right? It starts with a good foundation.
Yep.
Well, every camp, these guys need to take one of those stones out of the foundation and rebuild it, you know? Because, yeah, Calvin's learned leg kicks before. But when we were getting ready for that Stevens fight, we brought him up to you, and we really focused on a lot of leg kicks and leg kick defense and stuff like that to kind of make that part of his game stronger. You know, we fought guys before that were really good wrestlers. Our wrestling defense gets better, you know. And just every camp, if you don't come out of that camp with an idea of like, what did I get better at? Win, lose, or draw. Did you get really good at something in that camp that you weren't good at before the camp? Then that's a successful camp. But I think nowadays, like we kind of talked about earlier, people get to the UFC and then they just stay stagnant and they just worry about the next fight and then going on vacation and trying to be famous and all this stuff. And they don't necessarily focus on getting better. But yeah, it's hard with the prospects, man. You know it.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest points you brought up, talent being one, hard work. I said structure and discipline is a big one for me. I think that comes into hard work and stuff, but I hate guys that have to guess when they have to train. You should know Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I should look at a schedule and know where you are training. There shouldn't be ever guessing. Yeah. I mean, that's one thing, that structure. I'm an OCD guy, man. I always make fun of myself. I'm OCD and autistic when it comes to my timing, my training. Like, I can't even train a minute late. If I say, like, everything's got to be on point. And I think that's important. And the discipline to follow the schedule, I think, is very important. And a lot of newer martial artists, they don't have that. They don't have that year-round training mentality. Like, when you're done a fight, that's the learning. Now get in, keep learning, keep improving. That's your foundation building. Don't just sit there and just wait and take time off and get fat. Like those, the Kelvins are going to be the world, and the Robs are going to be the world champions, because it's a full year process. The off time is, recovery, getting better, and then when fight comes, you already have that skill ready to go. So I think that's why we're going to see, 2 world champions, I think, very, very soon.
I hope so, man. Yeah, I think you kind of said something there that hit a button. You said, true martial artists. Like, I don't think any of these younger prospects that come in and they, the guys that come on the mat the first day and they're like, I want to go to the UFC. Like, those guys aren't martial artists. They're
not at all.
They're trying to be celebrities. They're trying to get famous. And you even see that with a lot of guys that get to the UFC. They're still not trying to really become a better athlete. They just want to become famous or make money or whatever. And kind of heart's in the wrong place. But I think, these guys, and I struggle with that too. It's like, we're not really martial artists. Like, we're doing a martial art, but we're not, at the end of the day, we're kind of prize fighters, right? Like, yep. we're you put it in prize, but we're athletes.
Athletes is the other word.
Yep. We're athletes that don't have an off season, so exactly. This is a 24/7, 365 job. If Calvin wasn't ready after he breaks his nose in the Jeremy Stephens fight, and 3 weeks later they call us to fight in the main event for a month, that fight changed his life, got him a nice new contract, set up this fight against the number 1 guy. If we didn't get right back in the gym after we fought Jeremy Stephens, where I can think you could probably argue, Joe, that most fighters would have been during pandemic, COVID, 18-week camp, broken nose, dinged up hand.
No chance.
Hey man, let's just chill. Let's get fat.
I don't think I would do it. I'm being honest.
Yeah,
I don't think
Cal was
I
back
would.
in the gym a few days later. We were working around the nose. Like, we did that whole fight camp with one of those Bane masks, high school wrestler masks that cover your nose.
Sparring
with a broken nose,
probably.
We went into that fight. Exactly. So, if he wasn't as disciplined as he wasn't able to take that opportunity to change his life. There is no off season in MMA. And I think people think like, oh, I'm going to, that's the worst answer. People get on the microphone after win, I'm just going to take some time. No, there's no time. You're wasting time.
Yeah.
You have a short window to make this money and climb this ladder and catch your dreams. And if you're not ready, you're going to miss an opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Calvin's proven this year, that you stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And then you take the bull by the horns and make those opportunities your bitch. And in the course of, you look at 2020, we got the Stephens fight last December.
Stephens was December 2019.
Yeah, December 2019 is when we got the offer for the fight, and it kept moving. We stayed ready the whole time.
Yeah.
And then we go and beat him. We stay ready. We go and beat Ige, and now we're fighting. And then literally in the span of 7 months, we had 2 fights and went from being like the number 11 guy or 10 guy to now we're the number 6 guy fighting the number 1 guy in the world on ABC.
Crazy. Former champion.
That wasn't
by crazy. Like, he was the leader.
That wasn't by accident. That was because we went back to the 3 things I talked about.
Yeah.
He was disciplined. He was in the gym. He put in the work, and then everybody in his life sacrificed during the pandemic to make him whole going into these fights. They sacrificed vacations, time away, meeting other people. It was a COVID Christmas with no one around because we couldn't risk, being around people. And, I just think some of these young fighters don't ever really understand that. And they think that they see where Calvin's at and they say, oh, you're so lucky. And Calvin said it best one time. He was on the Airdyne doing his bike sprints, and he was like barely sweating, barely breathing. He goes, everybody wants to say I'm lucky. I'm lucky I got the Lamas fight. I remember this. I'm lucky I got the Lamas fight. He goes, I'm lucky. He goes, well, here's your luck. It's right here on this bike. Come get some. And I think that always stuck. That always stuck with me. We're not lucky. We work hard. So.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think Calvin was a pro fighter reaching the top, and then he took a couple year layoff, right?
3 years. Yeah.
And I think that 3 years, you can correct me, but that 3 year, that little break from competition was probably what, gave him that energy again to run and go nonstop like he's doing now. Sometimes that little break makes you realize how much you want it, how much you love it, and how much you're willing to do to get where you are. And that little break for Calvin almost was a great thing for his career from the outside anyways.
Yeah, it's like if you have a long-term girlfriend and you're kind of like, yeah, she's cool. but then all of a sudden you have to go away for 6 months
And you're like,
and
oh,
you're
I
not
loved
around, and then
her.
you start thinking about all things. You're like, you know what? I really like that girl.
Yeah.
And then you go home and you're like, this is cool. I'll marry her.
Yeah,
You
there you
know, and
go.
I think that's what Calvin had in MMA. You know, he had that time away. He was still around it, but he wasn't in it. And it made him realize, like, listen, I do want to do this. And then he jumped back in, and we took it one fight at a time. And he's not. I don't think he's ever been in a better place mentally that he is going into this fight. And I really feel like the team just keeps getting tighter and stronger. You know, we're making changes every camp. You know, we made some staff changes this camp. I won't out anybody, but you know, we made some staff changes, a couple different coaches, and you know, we're coming in with a different corner for this fight with a few people, and you know, some different stuff we're doing at home. And I think it's made some mental improvements for Calvin, and I'm excited to see all that stuff come out on fight night.
Yeah, he just seems always cool and collected. Doesn't seem nervous. He's just true classy professional. Like, I always try to look for tells, but not with Kelvin, man. He's always smooth, relaxed, calm. Well, that's the impression he gives anyways. I mean, I think that's where he's confident, and I think him going in confident just shows for itself.
Yeah, I think Calvin's a big, you know, he's last few years he's been doing a lot of research on, like, you know, kind of the mental side, where, you know, listening to, like, you know, the Tim
Just
Grover
everything.
Relentless books and stuff like that. And he's really starting to, like, understand, like, the power of self-belief and how to get yourself in a good mental space. And I think with him, a lot of it comes into not just being told what to do, but like the why we're doing it. You know, Calvin
Big
doesn't want to
time.
know just the how, he wants to know the why. And, you know, we're building a team around, I'm trying to become a better coach to teach that too. It's like explaining, like, why it makes sense to take this session off, or why it makes sense to not
Oh,
spar
yeah.
hard this session, and not just, hey, you know, this is what we're doing tonight, and then shut up and put your head down and do it. It's like having that conversation and making them understand why we're doing everything. There's a method behind it. You know, why maybe we have to dial back on this strength and conditioning session because of where we're at in camp, and, you know, we're trying to avoid injury, you know, all that stuff. Like, you know, why is this the game plan? Like, well, you know, this is what we're going to do, but here's why we're going to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And once he understands the why, he's all in, and then he gets more confident, and then he goes into that fight. And in the locker room, I'm able to look at him in the eyes, and, you know, his other corners, and they're able to look at him and tell him, like, listen, like, you put the freaking work in, like, you're ready for this. If you go and do this, you're gonna get your hand raised.
Yeah.
And I truly think that he really believes that every time he goes in there, that he knows he can be a world champion. Now we just gotta go do it one step at a time.
And that's kind of what your role is, right? To make sure he's confident on fight night. And that's one of the toughest. I mean, each fighter's different. I'm sure you have to mentally prepare Rob differently than you would do Calvin, right? Everyone's a little different, and that's what you kind of got to get in their head a little bit.
Yeah, oh my God, I've been in enough locker rooms where I see, like, the coach that gives the same speech to every
Or the
fighter
slap.
to
Are
pump
you a
them up.
slapper?
Yeah, like,
Tyson, you give them the face
no, we
slap
do.
before?
No face slaps. We do, dude. If I have to pump them up for a fight, then something's
There's
wrong.
something's wrong for sure.
Or like, yeah. So we do the you slap the legs, and I think it's
Yeah,
a
I do
Thai
the
thing,
leg
right?
too.
Like, we
Yeah.
kind of slap the legs, slap the body, slap the arms, the chest, and kind of go up and down once or twice, just kind of wake you up
Yeah.
and feel alive. We do that, but I don't slap in the face.
I
But
see the
there's
pinches
nothing worse than, like,
sometimes. You
yeah, the
pull the
coach that'll be
ears,
like,
the ear pull. I thought I saw once.
yeah, like, there's nothing worse than you the coach will give the fighter the same speech every single time, but then he gives another fighter the same speech too.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, that's just the speech. That's more for the coach. That's not for the fighter.
You guys just coming here, it was just sucked because the pandemic hit and we couldn't do it again because it was just, I literally, I mean, something about you guys, man. I think you guys, to me, I always say, are cut from the same cloth, even with Ross. Like, just something about your vibe, you guys, your energy is just been something that contagious for me, and it just the people around you too. And I think that's what really stuck out when I went to Fight Island. Like, from the therapist staffs to the matchmakers, you guys just leave good impression on everyone. So those are the people I want to be around.
Yeah, I think that's one of the PI staff said the other day. We were on the shuttle, and they were like, "You guys, your team's always the most prepared, and your team's always the best at planning."
Yeah.
We'd already booked our PT sessions for the week and all that stuff, and I was like, so proud to hear that. You know,
Hell yeah.
We're trying to get the system in, and then I think we're friends with all those people. You know, I literally do consider some of them friends because we text on holidays. You know, it's you build a good rapport. I think it just
Comes down to that old adage: just treat the doorman the same as you would the CEO.
Exactly.
And we just do that. We treat people how we want to be treated. And one of the best compliments you can get is when one of the UFC staff reaches out and they're like, hey, you guys were really pleasant to deal with last week. You're one of my favorite teams to have around. And like those things don't go unnoticed by us. And I'm proud of the team that we have around us and that they're being professional and representing everybody in a positive manner.
Yeah, and I mean, just the one shout out I'd always like to give is Heather, how great she is to everybody.
Oh, she's awesome.
I mean, I used to always think it's like, oh, Heather is so nice. It's just nice to our team, but she's nice to you guys. She's nice to everyone. And then just those are the type of people. Like, I think the UFC PI staff's incredible. Like, I mean, I met them only like twice, but they left such a lasting impression of how nice and, there they are for the fighters. It's incredible. Yeah, no, it's a huge asset that the UFC provides. It sucks that like Bobby's good, Tara's good, Heather's good. We're real close with Heather. She's not here this week. I think she's working the Connor card, so we got Bobby. So we're gonna be kicking up PT every day with Bobby. But yeah, I mean that's a huge advantage. Like now, it's like when you go to a fight card that doesn't have the PT people there, it's like a factor. You're like, well, we're not going to PT this fight week. That's that's. And you get particular with one person too, right? Like you want to book Heather. She knows what I want. She knows what we're doing.
Yeah, everybody's got preferences, and when we fought Zabit in Moscow, there was no PT, and Calvin was like, "Oh, it was like I'm so used to having PT all fight week and massages and all that stuff." So, but unfortunately, they've been there through all the whole pandemic. They come to Fight Island. They've been in Vegas, so we've been leveraging them.
All right, well, Tyson, I won't keep you too much longer, my man. I really appreciate it. You actually. I said I wanted you on, and you actually pulled through with it. You actually messaged me to get on, so I really appreciate that, man. Like, what you guys do, who you are, the coach of the year. I mean, just everything. I'm proud of you guys. I'm happy to be, know you guys and be friends with you guys. And like, I can't be more proud. And sorry, Rob, the last two fights, I kind of was a little nervous, but especially with the knee surgery and even when he fought Pettis, I'm like, I am a full believer now in Rob Font. I'm not second guessing you anymore, Rob. Tyson, appreciate it, my man. I just, like I said, I love everything you guys are doing. I'm yelling, I'm screaming, I'm supporting, and I'll be rocking my New England Cartel shirt next week. That's for sure.
There you go. I like it. Now, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, brother. We'll talk soon. Man, it's such a good opportunity to catch up with Tyson.
What a treat.
The time he came here, man, I'm telling you, just that bonding right away just happened.
Yeah.
Even seeing Kelvin and Rob at the UFC Institute, right away, I knew that these were the type of guys that I wanted to be around.
Yeah.
Friendly, nice. I mean, those people you meet in the world, it's all about vibes these days, you know? I sound like really cliche. It's about the vibes and the energy. But it's true. I mean, once you surround yourself, and you'll realize in this sport, I mean, you'll find those guys that you gravitate to that, the same philosophies, the beliefs, and there's not many people in this world that I can get along with that well. Like, who am I going to, who would I run into in the world that I would vibe so well? Someone that, like, let's be honest, I listen to fight podcasts. Yeah. I only watch fighting. I've done fighting my whole life. I wake up, I train, I think about fighting. My downtime, I'm, watching fight film and studying fighters. So, like, when I meet someone who knows, it's just boom, right away.
I've never actually met Ty. I wasn't here, unfortunately, when he came down, but he definitely does
I thought
seem
you
like
guys knew each other.
No, I think I was in Glory or Invicta, I think it was. I can't remember, and I missed it, but I saw it all over social, and I was like, oh man, that's freaking cool.
Yeah.
And he does seem like a super humble,
super
humble guy.
The whole team, man. The whole team is that. Like, I mean, it's just good people to be around. And I said the main thing for me is like leaving these lasting impressions. And I mean, Tyson just said it, like, you have to be just as nice to Dana White as you are as, the commission checking your gloves. Like, you leave these positive, that's what life is about. So then when you leave, you're like, oh, these guys were nice, like we were saying, and then that leaves the impression, and then people want to work with you, and then you create relationships. But too many times in the fighting world, it's everyone to themselves, stay to themselves. Yeah. Like, everyone's an enemy. I mean, so when you get this merging of teams and people working together, because I grew up in an old school way. Like, you stuck with your team. I never cross-trained growing up. I only really trained in one place where I'm sitting now with the team, with my coaches, with my same training partners. And it's been here since the beginning. I walked into this location when I was 19 years old, right? I just turned 19. I'm 35 now. So I've been coming to the same place, same location, same everything. It's like that big circle of walking in here, training with, Ultimate Martial Arts and Paul Minhas, to now being the owner in the same spot. It's that 360 that I kind of like. But I'm just excited, man, to see the boys do their thing. When they fight, literally, I'm invested. I get extra excited.
Because it's good to see good people win.
Yeah.
Like, they're good people. They're a team. They're not like a bunch of nomads running around. You know what I mean? Like, they're actually, they're good people. So it's good to actually see a good guy win.
Yeah, and I'm just happy again. The fights are back. When the UFC was coming on every single week, I was like, how am I going to keep up with this? Now I kind of expect it, especially now during the pandemic. You got to think. That's why it's so exciting. I went from every week watching UFC fights and then calling that Bader versus Benjamin Adekboue fight to having 3 weeks off and no fights is giving me a little bit of stress and anxiety. So I'm happy it's back. But we're going to talk a little bit about this upcoming card because there's a few fights I think we can pick up on. And part of me, what I want to kind of start doing in the future is like always have a few little bets, a little bit of picks, and kind of talk about the gambling odds a little bit because that's kind of the fun thing. I wouldn't say I'm someone who gambles a lot, but I like to gamble for fun. It keeps it interesting. So, even if it's spending $10 during the UFC to make a little bit of a parlay to make it fun, I think is really important. But I don't believe in over gambling, so don't think I'm promoting it. It's just more of a way to kind of spend a little bit to have fun and be interested in it. But sure. Again, if I'm going to pick anything, I got to go with my man Calvin Kattar. And I genuinely think based on his gambling odd, he has a legit chance. And
Well, right now, Holloway is the betting favorite.
Okay, what's Calvin Kattar right now? He's a plus what?
He's a plus 138.
Okay, so there's some value there on going with Calvin, and especially with a finish, I think it can be really well. And it's really hard. I don't really recommend people over going on my biased picks, but I genuinely, if I were to take away my friendship, I really see his ability to use his range well. I think Max Holloway is tough, durable, has the experience, but you got to think Calvin Kattar's record is 22 wins and 4 losses. Max Holloway, 21-6. The age difference, not like Calvin's a kid. He's been in the big wars. He knows how to use his skills and his strengths to his advantage. So there's some value definitely taking that plus value on Calvin Kattar. The co-main event I'm actually really excited for. Two OGs of OGs. You have Carlos Condit taking on Matt Brown, which I think is a fantastic fight.
That's a great one, yeah.
I met Matt Brown a few times. And we talked about it, never came through because he was actually coming to do some therapy in Toronto, and we were going to try to hook up, and because he was fighting a southpaw, and he asked if I had any southpaws. But I met him a few times at a few Glory events, so just a super, super nice guy. And I think Carlos Condit's always Carlos Condit.
Condit is always in those wars.
Yeah.
Such a good fighter.
What do we have in the odds on that fight, Danny?
That's what I'm trying to find right now, and I can't find it, to be honest, right now. I'm trying to find all the odds on it.
Bestfightodds.com is the best, Danny.
That
gives you the different options and those kind of things. I think it's the easiest way. Or I can go into the app here and I can find it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, bestfightodds.com.
Yeah, that's the best one to use.
We're looking right now that Condit is actually the favorite, minus 160, and Matt Brown is a plus 140.
Wow. Okay. Big favorite on Carlos Condit, which, that's a fight I don't really know. They're older in their age.
Because they're both so,
But
they're so
don't
seasoned.
stand in mid-range with Matt Brown.
No.
Vicious elbows, good power. Carlos Condit likes to kick maybe with his chin up a little high sometimes. So, again, some value there, but the safe bet is Condit, but I kind of like Matt Brown.
You're going with Matt Brown on that one?
I think Carlos Condit, I just know something about Matt Brown. I don't know, he's kind of a big underdog, but I kind of like Matt Brown in this, to be honest with you.
Okay, that's a good pick.
Those are the two that I'll focus on, but some of the fights I think just personally that I'm excited about, the Joaquin Buckley, he had that knockout of the year.
Because he had that knockout.
But there's a lot of beef going on with my boy James Krause. So
I heard.
I can't over support Buckley because James my boy. But I like Buckley. The fact that you can throw spinning back kicks and knock people out, you have that arsenal. I'm watching. I'm supporting. I like it a lot, to be honest with you. He's fighting that. Who is he fighting? I don't even know.
Buckley is. Let's see right
Alessio Di Chartier.
Yeah. Which
sounds Italian.
He's 12-5.
Yep.
31 years old. So he's pretty seasoned. Looks like right now Buckley is the heavy favorite, in fact, in that fight at minus 270. And Alicio's plus 230.
Ponzinibbio's always fun to fight. He's fighting Jingling, they call him. Jingling.
And Ponzinibbio, or I'm sorry, I'm butchering his name. He's a heavy favorite as well, minus 275.
I mean, lots of good fights on the prelim if you're a big fight fan, but just the one I would say I'm probably excited for is Justin Tafa. I know his brother, Junior Tafa. His brother fights in Glory. Good character, very full of energy.
Felipe is actually the favorite against Tafa.
Yeah, Carlos Felipe, we shared a dressing room in Abu Dhabi together. Very nice, good Brazilian, good team. So it's a tough fight, but Justin Tafa's power, man. The whole Tafa family is just bombs after bombs and good power, you know.
I remember when Junior was in the locker room one time, and I was just walking by in the backstage when he was warming up, and I just hear these smacks off of the mitts, and I just like peeked in, and I'm like, that sounds nasty. It sounds nasty.
That's what he does.
And they're just sitting there bumping Nicki Minaj. It was just freaking hilarious. Bumping Nicki Minaj and busting past.
Yeah, he's definitely a fun character
he's a
to
good
be
guy.
around and talk. But those are the ones I'm probably mostly excited for. But I do see value on Kelvin. And honestly, I like Matt Brown. I wouldn't invest a lot in that pick, but I do like Matt Brown. I think he has the ability to finish you, but Carlos Condit, always good, always dangerous. So, I mean, that's just one I'm more excited for. And if I had to pick, I mean, I would pick that underdog. Again, maybe slightly biased, but I wouldn't say overly biased. But I think it's a good finisher, good power, good strength, smart, intelligent fighter, and I'm sure Carlos Condit's the same thing. So that's it. But I'm just excited fights to be back. That's all I really need to see is fights to be back.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, we have some big stuff for me. I mean, end of January, we're calling that Glory 77 card, which
Stacked.
4 title fights, stacked card. For those who didn't listen to the last podcast, we have 4 world title fights on this Glory card, headlined by Rico Verhoeven, Jamal Ben Sadiq. It's a third fight, 1-1, lots of excitement. Then the one I'm probably most excited for, Alex Pereira versus Artem Vahitov. Probably 2 of my favorite fighters in kickboxing going at it, unification title. A lot of good things. I mean, Alex Pereira just got the LFA knockout of the year, so he's mixing in MMA, so keep an eye on Alex Pereira. And then you got his sister, Aline Pereira, taking on
who had 11-second knockout finish coming off.
And she's facing the face of probably women's kickboxing and Muay Thai, Tiffany Van Soest. So another big scrap. Tiffany's got the experience. She's got the edge in big fights, but Alina's got that Pereira blood, man. Power, nasty knockouts, just a good finisher. And then the welterweight rivalry, the beef.
That's been delayed twice.
Versus Myrtle Greenheart. We just released a piece that we did here at Bazooka Kickboxing. Todd was in his hotel room. And we're doing little features leading up to the fight. We're doing Cedric Doumbé and Myrtle was released yesterday, which is, again, time will be different when it's released, but still check that out. And then we'll do a feature, obviously, on Rico and Jamal Ben Sadiq, and then Pereira Vahitov. So watch out for them. They're little hour shows, and it goes back on some of my thoughts, how I think the fight's going to go, and just how they got to this position fighting for this. So 4 world title fights, check it out. And then, as I mentioned, not official yet. Again, I'm just going to say it anyways. Good opportunity. Malcolm will be fighting in the beginning of February. So big things, and it keeps me busy. And just seeing Tyson and the boys down there, I get jealous. I can pretend like I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited, I'm proud, but I'm freaking jealous, man. There's no ifs, ands, or ways around it. I am jealous of seeing people cornering, fighting, the excitement. Like I don't. This is my life, you know. Like me not traveling for fights and being in the bigger events and being part of. It just really made me sad. Just really made me sad. Not disappointed. I went with sad because it does. It makes me sad. When Fight Island first started, I was mad at myself. I was like, I'm a better coach than him. I just basically went out. I was just ranting on how I was like, how are these guys going there? How am I sitting at home and all of these other people are getting to fight and corner and thing? And then Malcolm went, so I felt better after that. But I mean, it was frustrating for me. Yeah. It is seeing that everyone gets to go to fights and I have to stay at home. Like, that's not fair.
Yeah, I know. And especially in Glory, like you had guys in Glory like Troy. and you didn't have the ability, unfortunately, to coach.
Yeah, that was the frustration with being a commentator, not being able to coach. Sucks, but that's what the UFC gives me, man. I love that passion, the drive, the energy, the nerves. Because my career, didn't get to go as long as I wanted it. I still need things in my life that give me that excitement, that energy. So, for example, in-ring interviews. I'm not a public speaker. I'm not an announcer. So I still get a little bit nervous doing them. So me being nervous is what I want, what I live for, what I want to have in my life. Yeah. The end of 2019, it was a big step for me to call and announce fights in front of 39,000 people. So that made me so freaking nervous. The weeks leading up to it, I was like, oh my God, like I want that. That was almost like my fight, like I'm fighting in a big event. That's the feeling I get. So not having that feeling sucked until I get to coach again, right? Yeah. So I get that feeling. So I live for that feeling. So I need it. I need it in life.
Yeah. So
I guess most fighters do. Like we live on the edge, that excitement of fighting isn't win or lose. It's like, am I going to get hurt or not hurt? So like the risk is greater. Like the losing and getting hurt bad is a big risk in your life. So that the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. And I mean, so that's the fun part of it for me. Just, I need those nerves. It's alive,
Well, it's coming, right? February soon. So it's right around the corner, and another opportunity for Malcolm to hopefully showcase his skill.
He needs it, and I feel good for him. He maybe needed this couple weeks, the holidays, because he went 2 back-to-back camps. So I love the guy. He's such a sweet man. But
I know a lot of people.
If we show the Malcolm in training,
that's what
this is what we need to show this fight. To him to be himself and just show how talented he is, man. He needs this. So.
He does. A lot of people, come up with the excuse of, they don't, if only he can be at the, he truly is like that with Malcolm. Like, if he can show what he is in the gym, if he has an opportunity to show how good he actually is, which I don't think he had the opportunity to do in the last 2 fights, then he can be something. It's just a matter of doing it.
Yeah, it's just that opportunity, for him and the chance to show it. I mean, he fought really 2 good guys, and not that they're better. I mean, they were good, but I know what we have as a team, what I have in Malcolm. It's just a matter of showing it and doing it. And February, hopefully 6th is when we get to do it again.
Hopefully, man. Yeah. Hopefully. Let's see.
We'll do it again. So hopefully it gets announced soon, and when this podcast gets released, hopefully it's out by then. And just in case it gets anybody in trouble, but I'm sure we're okay.
Yeah, we're all right.
But we're good.
But until then, we're looking at Kattar and Holloway, man.
Yeah, Kelvin Kattar, man. I'm so excited. Once it was announced, this is it. Again, Max Holloway's phenomenal. Like, don't get me wrong. He's in. It's not. He's got Kelvin's in there for war. This is like the stepping stone for world titles. It's not just a win ranks you up. Like, this is world title. Dreams are made of, life-changing opportunities, and just go and ride the wave, man.
I agree with Tyson. If he wins, he should fight for the title next.
Yeah, roll it out, keep it going, man. And that's what they got to do.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Danny. I'm freezing here.
Same here.
And those listening, you got to think of our dedication to do this. This is Sunday. Okay, we did it on a Sunday. I knew that Tyson actually reached out to me and DM'd me saying he's going to be in quarantine for 2 days if we wanted to do the podcast, because he listened and he's heard me call him out twice now. So he actually messaged me saying, hey, I'll be in quarantine. Let's get this podcast done. So what does that mean? Messaging Danny basically at Saturday night, asking, hey, Danny, do you want to get up at basically meet me here at almost 10 in the morning on a Sunday in the freezing. The heat's not on. We have a little portable heater keeping our feet and hands a little bit warm. So if you see me shaking sometimes through the podcast, it's because it's a little cold.
My hands are down here. I'm
Danny's
shaking.
Freezing here. But hopefully we get this heat fixed here so I don't have to wear sweaters on every podcast. And this is why I'm wearing a variety of sweaters. I never wear sweaters. So.
It's all for the fans, man. It's all for the listeners. It's worth it.
But appreciate it again, Danny.
Yeah.
Let's keep rolling with it.
Yeah.
I'm glad everyone's liking, enjoying. Not enough subscribing, not enough comments. Again, last podcast, we talked about doing a question and answer, and this just came up way too quick to be able to create anything that has time for you guys to ask questions. So this week here, for the next podcast we will create some sort of question and answer, because I think that's a fun part of this. being able to us to go on different tangents and talk about things and to see what you guys genuinely want answers from. I think it's, especially now at a time like this during this pandemic, I think it's really important to pick brains and to understand what's going on. We have the time, so make sure when I do ask for the questions, you put them in, and then Danny will read them off, and we'll bang them out. Hopefully a little bit more with UFC picks and talks. I think that's fun for me. For those who also don't know, and I'll get them on my podcast as well. I also do an MMA podcast that's called the TSN MMA Show with Aaron Bronstetter, where I only talk about MMA and all the fights coming up. And Aaron Bronstetter a mastermind in MMA, and he runs the TSN MMA part of TSN. So I'll get him on probably in the next week or two, even if it's a little quick chat just to promote the other podcast. But yeah, keep listening to this voice and subscribing, liking, and thanking Danny. And leave comments. We appreciate them. I'll actually go to Danny and I'll ask him, hey, there are people writing any good things out there? And he said everything's been good and positive.
Really good so far.
I read a nice one. I don't know who said it, but I thought it was hilarious. Someone brought it up to me and I had to look. Someone said my nose was looking nice. Hey, man, I'm trying. It's nice. It's a little flat, a little squished in a little bit during my career, but I didn't think I had potential to be a nose model. But
I do know that somebody also brought up something about you versus Paulo Costa because you both are jacked.
Both look the same.
I thought that was a fun comment.
He's bigger than me though.
Yeah, I think he is right.
I don't know, but he makes 185. I could make 185.
Yeah,
no problem.
But I mean, you saw what Adesanya did to him, so that's just my opinion. That's all I gotta say.
Oh, Danny, that's
all I gotta say.
Let you talk the shit for me, bro. Talk it. Yeah,
that's
let
all I gotta say,
let
man. That's all I gotta say.
Of course. Levels. That's what I'm No, but what he did is amazing.
Yeah.
Unless I can go in there, I don't want to talk
I'm
too
not
much crap.
I'm not disrespecting. I'm just saying. Yeah,
I know. But I'm excited for Izzy to be back. Anyways.
Yeah.
Thanks again, guys, and we'll see you next time.
All right.